Check. Finger going off.
Chansan permai Gesar Rampo Lai Yan Sen Shagin Andru Pinye Manjong Sundra Kordu Kandra Mante Koren Jin 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 Su Dandu Ki Jing Jin Lak Jin Sik Su So Guru Pema Siji Hong Hong Jing Jin Nam Chang San Pe Mai Ge San Jampo Lai Yan Sen Shagin Andru Pinye Pe Mai Jung Ne Shi Sun Garai Kordo Kandra Kuren Jin 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 Sun Dan De Fin Qing Jin Lak Jin Sek Su So Guru Pema Fin Ji Hong Hong Zhen Ji Nam Chang San Pe Mai Ge Sa Lai Yan Sen Ge Gen De Pinye Pe Mai Zhong Ne Shi Sun Dai Kordu Kandra Koren Jin 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 Sun Da De Fin Qing Ji Lak Jin Sek Su So Guru Pema Si Ji Hong Hong Jing Jim Nam Chang San Pe Mai Ge Sa Lai Yan Sen Shagin Andru Pinye Mai Jung Ne Shi Sun Darai Kordu Kandra Pe Koren Jin 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 Sun Dan De Ki Qing Jin Lak Jin Sek Su So Guru Pema Ji Hong San Je Chon Dan San Chi Chon Nang Lan Jan Chu Bar Du Dan Ni Cham Sun Chi Dai Ge Sun Ji Pe Sun Nan Chi Dru La Venje Sanje Indrupa So Sanje Chodan Sunchi Chonang Lai Janchu Dani Chab Sunchi Daigi Jin Sunji Pe Sunanchi Drula Penji Sanje Drupa So Hong Belzara Guru Pema Siji Hong 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 Om Ha Hom Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. 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 Om Ha Hom Guru Pema Sijihom. Guru Pema Sijihom. Om Ha Hom Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. Om Ha Hom Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. Om Ha Hom Om Ha Hom Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. 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 Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. Om Ha Hom Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. Om Ha Hom Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. Om Ha Hom Benzalai Guru Pema Sijihom. Gante, Gante, Aragante, Arasangante, Bunji Sohaon, Gante, Paraga, Parasangate Bunji Sohanga Gate Paragate Parasangate Bunji Sohanga Paragate Parasangate Bunji Sohanga Bom dia.
Good morning. So we are contemplating Dujong Rinpoche's teaching, which is the way by which Dujong Rinpoche describes Gerab Dorje's teaching, which is a teaching emanated by Vajrasattva's mind, which is a manifestation of the primordial Buddha. So you can see the primordial Buddha as this vast, great expanse, lucid, that is non-dual with all manifestations, and who is represented by a naked body inseparable from his consort. So the primordial Buddha Samantabhadra and the consort are the same being. So both of them are the primordial Buddha Samantabhadra. When we say that Samantabhadra is the Buddha that is in front of the world around us, we create a separation between world and consciousness, but there isn't such separation. That's why they are represented in this way. On the other hand, appearances, they produce the very observer, and the observer produces the appearances. So this is a combined phenomena. And the Buddhas have seen it by means of their inner view, Rigpa. They recognize attraction as the source code of the arising of all the world. So, as soon as we create something with our mind, we see what we created. And that which we created becomes the basis for subsequent creations. So the fact that the mind creates the appearance makes it sustain the appearance and to maintain this connection, this bond. This bond manifests as desire and attachment in the human world. But it also arises as the inevitable attraction of all appearances that arise in the very genesis, origin of the experience of appearance and observer. Then the whole world, when we contemplate the arisal of the whole world manifests as Dharmadatta. And its source code, its primary code, is the luminosity of mind. And inseparable from it, there is this vast expanse, And this vast expanse together with luminosity creates the appearances. And when the appearances arise, they are inevitably inseparable from the mind that creates them. While they are focused, there is this energy of sustaining the appearance. And this energy of sustaining the appearance creates this connection, this bond between them. So this bond is the basis of existence. The basis of existence sometimes manifests as this attraction, but the notion of attraction is not the most profound notion. It's as though it arises from two existences, but there are no two existences. They arise together, combined. When they arise combined, union is already declared, and this union manifests as an attraction. So we can see that the whole world operates in this way. This is the basis of the existence of all manifestations. So from this place, Samantabhadra, the nature before creations, during and after creations, this nature is completely perfect, primordial, clear, in the sense that it's simply the freedom, luminosity, and lucidity. And then this place is the place of Samantabhadra, and in this place there is no existences. Samantabhadra's mind doesn't operate with existence, with the notion of separation. So there is no existence. And if there are no existences, there isn't time. From the perspective of samsara, we are used to think about time, place, existence, life, and death. But when the lucid mind of the Buddha directs itself towards the appearance, it sees Samantabhadra, it sees that which is incessantly present and whose creative aspect creates many transitory manifestations that are always pointed out as dreams. So this is the view of Samantabhadra. And then from Samantabhadra, Vajrasattva manifests.
Olha os seres.
Vajrasattva sees the beings that have arisen, and amidst them there is suffering. So Vajrasattva clarifies suffering by pointing out Samantabhadra. So Vajrasattva shows that what we see as being separate from us as internally or external appearances, which are the concert, he shows that this which we see as separate, it's not separate at all. And it's not an intrinsic existence. It's an apparent existence, which is a direct manifestation of luminosity. So there is nothing to be fixed. The perfection that Vajrasattva points out is the recognition of the extraordinary and magic aspect of the appearance, and of the non-separativity of observer and appearances. This is what Vajrasattva offers. And this is the recognition of the natural, non-contrived fabrication that is ever existing of all appearances, that when we look at them with a conditioned and limited eye, we see appearances as imperfect, impermanent, and we also see suffering. But when we look at them from the perspective of Vajrasattva, which is also the perspective of Samantabhadra, it's as if we were looking to a movie. Even though there are bones and beings are dying, actually there is nobody being born and nobody dying in this ultimate sense. there is just a collection of appearances that manifest in this way. And this comes from a complete clarity regarding the ultimate nature, which is the true reality of all the oscillating appearances. And in this way, we can shift the eye of samsara to the eye that sees Samantabhadra, the primordial Buddha, the ultimate aspect, in the very ordinary experiences. So, looking in this way, this is the great perfection, being able to see it in this way. And then we have Vajrasattva's purification. From Vajrasattva, Garadorj manifests. Garadorj appears as that which talks to ordinary beings. He doesn't talk to beings who have Samantabhadra's view. He talks to beings who cannot recognize the natural perfection. They are not able to see things as they are. So first, he tells these beings to create merit, and then he tells them to rest in shamatha, to interrupt the mind that operates according to conditionings, and then he introduces the mind of Samantabhadra, which is the true mind of beings, and then he says, "You who are sentient beings, take this and meditate on this, stabilize this view." So when sentient beings look with Samantabhadra's eye and stabilize the view, they become inseparable from Samantabhadra. And this is the essence of Guru Yoga. Guru Yoga is fusing, means to fuse with the primordial mind. And this is not a dream, this is not just a story. The primordial mind is not something that we get or not, it's always there. We may see it or not, but it's always there. So when the primordial mind becomes the mind of sentient beings, the mind of sentient beings becomes obscure because it's playing a game. It's a little bit like someone who's playing a chess game or who's watching a movie, and then they forget about time, they forget that they should go to work or have lunch or something like this. This forgetfulness is what we call avidya, ignorance, marika. It's the same thing. They are different words in different languages, but the same thing. Marika is Tibetan, avidya Sanskrit, and ignorance in our language. What is ignorance? Ignorance means to get lost in a world that was created, and this is very easy. It happens. We can want to ask, how do car accidents happen? They happen because of ignorance, because we're looking forward and then we look at the mirror, look to the other side, and we don't see the motorcycle that is coming, and then we crash. This is ignorance. We see something, but we don't see other things. And that's it, it's just it. How do we lose the game? We are playing, but we're not seeing the mind of our adversary. We're not seeing what they are thinking. And then, how do we get prey to? So what? All around there is avidya, ignorance, marika. That means we only see one thing and we don't see the rest. How is it possible that people, we are now in the Aquarius age and people still get angry? How does it happen? This is ignorance, this is avidya. There aren't condemned beings, they are not angry. It's the mind of conditioned beings, and then it changes. So it has the power of overcoming avidya. So avidya is this. And then Buddha says, "Oh, you angry one, now be calm and breathe. Breathe in, breathe out, do shamatha. Don't pay attention to whatever arises in the five senses or the creations of the mind. Calm down. And then we find out that if we interrupt the five senses and if we don't produce mental sequences based on that, we keep on existing. Wow, that's a shock. We exist in spite of the five senses and the mental constructions and identity and bubbles of reality. This is the great discovery for someone who comes from the conditioned world, for someone who sees things from the experience of Samantabhadra. From this perspective, this other view is a view of beginners. It's a teaching for beings who are immersed in a vidya whose mind is limited. It's as if it were an intervention, like taking away individual rights of beings, abducting them, and separating them completely. Because when we stop and we're still, the primordial aspect becomes more apparent, and this primordial aspect will now be pointed out by Garabdorji. So this is the worst task that was given to Garabdorji. He acts in the gross level, he operates in this gross level. Garabdorji comes as a boy with an appearance of a 6-year-old boy, and curiously, he fights the main debater of Nalanda University, a university that had more than 10,000 monks studying and practicing. And then this great master of Nalanda, Manjushri Mitra, he is scared with the news that there is a little boy giving teachings in a way that is different from what the Buddha used to teach. Because the teachings that they used to hear from the Buddha had to do with the first turning of the wheel, what they considered to be the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, which were teachings specifically connected with karma, overcoming karma, and generating marriage. And then Garabdorj comes and talks about the ultimate nature. He doesn't talk about karma and marriage. So that this is disturbing for these people. So Manjushri Mitra goes there, and there is a public debate among all the monks and all the people. And the little boy, with the appearance of a 6-year-old boy, wins the debate against Manjushri Mitra, in the sense that Manjushri Mitra recognizes that this is a higher view. And Manjushri Mitra becomes a student of Garabdorji. And then they live together their whole lives until Garabdorji emanates the luminous body and fuses with the sky, merges with the sky. And then Manjushri Mitra says, how are you going away? Are you going to leave me here? And then he throws a teaching to Manjushri Mitra, which talks about these 4 points. So it's view, meditation, action. So essentially the teaching is about view, meditation, action, or view, meditation, action, and fruition.
Vai ser entendido como as 4 visões.
This will be understood as the 4 views, because it's 4 views.
A primeira visão é a visão.
So the first view is the view, and then we see things as they are. And then it looks like a revelation. But from the perspective of Samantabhadra, this is the very natural view with no artificiality, with no words, with no reasoning. It's simply the view of things as they are. And this is the view of Samantabhadra. But for beings who are immersed in avidya,
Os seres que são seres ilusórios,
these beings that are illusory and artificial beings that are constructed as players within specific games or characters within theater plays, these players, they say, wow, that's wondrous. Why? Because it doesn't fit into this life stories of people. So we are born, we live, we learn many things, we train, but we're not gonna learn this original code of the arisal of appearances. We're not gonna learn it. We learn ordinary things, things that have to do with the world, mundane things, causal things, relative things. So now there's a teaching that transcends all of this. So for us, this teaching is wondrous, extraordinary, completely wonderful, surprising, and we put it in a very high altar shrine, because within the world in which there are altars and shrines, the appearance of altars and shrines
da nossa artificialidade.
is
Templos e
it
altares.
has to do with our artificiality, because
A visão última. Eu preciso de templos e de altares porque eu não vejo dentro da aparência direta da consorte, que são todas as aparências, e da visão lúcida, luminosa que está presente em nós.
the lucid, luminous view that is present in us, we don't see it. We don't see neither this nor the concert operating in us. So we need something symbolic. We need a temple, a shrine. And then within the temple, there are the teachings, and we put the highest teaching over there, up there. And we keep on not understanding that us, as beings who operate in narrow worlds, who are characters in different kinds of games and plays, we're not able to understand very clearly this aspect. And then Garab Dorji comes and teaches Manjushrimita about the view, which is Samantabhadra's view.
Uma vez que a gente entende visão,
And when we understand the view a little bit, this is the first view.
a segunda visão,
The second view is that which comes from training. And then I take that and I train it and I stabilize the view. So the view was not only presented, and it's the ultimate and extraordinary view, but it has an additional element. It becomes unequivocally the view, and we have the capacity of seeing the view because we practiced and we reached this. This is the second view. The second view is when, by adopting this, now we look in all directions and we practice by looking and contemplating every experiences that look like experiences of the external world. Then we practice the view recognizing non-duality and inseparability of Vajrasattva and consort, Samantabhadra and consort. Samantabhadra and consort as a unity. And then we recognize this in every direction and leaving nothing behind. We look inwardly and we also look outside in all directions. We look with our physical senses, with the mind that is free from the physical senses in every direction. And then there will be absolutely no mistake. It becomes very clear that all appearances are this. And this is the third view. And the fourth view is when there is no longer view in the sense, in an elaborate sense. There is a natural view that reaches everything with no analysis, no expectation, no mistakes. It's simply the complete clarity and this inspiration. So we are studying this text, which is Dudjom Rinpoche's commentary on Garab Dorji's teaching, which is the teaching about the contemplation of meditators regarding the Mahaguru. Mahaguru is the ultimate aspect. When we finish this, when we conclude this, and we understand view, this is extraordinary. When we have the ability to practice the view as a training, this is extraordinary. It's the second view. When this view becomes all-pervading, and there's no kind of mistake, this is the third view. And when there is no longer the feeling of a view, but there's only this naturality of the view that is inseparable from wisdom, it's the fourth view. And then we recognize very easily that all the paths, all we have done until today, in other times as an identity, were preliminary movements towards the culminating aspect of the teachings. So I'm going back to the beginning of the main part, which is the part that talks about generating the wisdom of Vipassana, and this has 4 parts, as we saw yesterday. So there is deciding through the view, taking to the heart through meditation, sustaining the continuity through action, and how the fruition is actualized. The first aspect is deciding through the view. Today, I'm not going to talk about shamatha because we have done it before. I'm going to skip this part, and I'm also not going to talk about the preliminaries that are connected with the Four Noble Truths. And I'm also not going to talk about the preliminary of the preliminary, which is about how to behave better in the world and avoid negative actions and so on. Because now we are contemplating this very special aspect. So this recognition of the view has 3 parts, which is determining the nature of outer perceived objects, determining the nature of the inner perceiving mind, and recognizing the view of the natural state. So we begin with determining the nature of outer perceived objects. The root text says, maras, obstructing forces, Samaya breaking demons, Gyalpo, Gompo, and the like, all are merely appearances arising to the mind. So when we read this with them, we understand, wow, Garabdorj has such patience, Vajrasattva has such patience. They come talk to us about Mara, obstructing forces, Samaya breaking demons, and etc. They have a lot of compassion because none of this actually exists, but they are speaking using the language of the beings and the way that beings see the world. It's a little bit like this. Guys, all the pieces of the chess game, they do not exist. The queen, the king, the horse. They are merely appearances that arise in our mind. A game with all of the pieces, all of the options, all the chess, they are appearances that arise in our mind. You who feel like a player and you have happinesses, you have sadnesses, you are a construction inseparable from this very game. Just be calm, contemplate the table, the chess table. All fears, afflictions, all the towers, kings, queens, all the pieces, they are creations of the mind. As indicated by the things we label as obstacles, demons, or obstructing forces, all appearing things, including ourselves and others, the outer environment or beings within it, might appear solid and real, but in reality they are nothing more than the delusory perceptions of our own minds. They appear, yes, but though seeming real, they are not. So recognizing them as like a magical display of appearance or appearances in a dream, which do not exist but still appear, we should regard them as insubstantial and unreal. So when we're able to see this, we are outside the game. We're not inside the game anymore. And this is the essence of the teaching. We begin by recognizing the mind that operates outside the game. Moreover, other than being mere labels, they are beyond any conceptual ideas we might have about them being existent or non-existent in nature. So ultimately, we should not view them even as illusory in any concrete sense. But then the game takes place, even though it's not real. The queen is there, the king's there, the horse is there, and everything operates. An adversary and the pieces and everything is there. It's operating. But they are essentially appearances that appear as the primordial wisdom. That is, I create them luminously, and the mind that creates them sees the creation. So they are a manifestation of the primordial wisdom, in which everything, without any exception or bias, is experienced as illusory and luminous. So this is view. And now I have to be able to recognize this in relation to anything. And then we're gonna also recognize multiple intelligences that are creating realities. And the realities that they create are seen by these intelligences. But what they create, we see it in a different way. So the worlds get intertwined. So we don't have one world, we have a multiplicity of worlds that are intertwined. And the world of plants, for example, is a world seen by them. But the world as they see it, we're not able to see them. We're only able to see the world of the plants in the way that we see them, not in the way that they see it. But we can see that they are doing things. We just don't know how they do it. But we see the plants, and we use the plants within our world. And this means intertwining the intelligences. It's the same that happens among human beings. We may not understand very well the others, but we are in relation with them based on what we can see. So there is this instrumentalization of beings. They become instruments in the lives of each other. So then we have the process of social instrumentalization. And beings do not exist, they are slaves in a process. They're instruments, and we don't care about what they think. This really doesn't matter. They just, and then they're given something illusory by the end of the month, and they keep on doing what they do. And then if we take an economic paradigm as the essential point, as it's happening right now, the economic paradigm is the complete dehumanization of the process. They are not people anymore, they are instruments. And then we look at them as those who will buy what I want to sell. They will buy medicines, they will buy poison, they will buy things that destroy their lives. But if economy is functioning, if it's operating well, then that all is fine. So this is a process of taking samsara to the extreme. So we're not recognizing the luminous intelligence is an extraordinary aspect of human beings. We're operating within a mechanism. So patiently, Garabdor explains all of this. And then the second part, determining the nature of the inner perceiving mind, how to clarify it. So we clarify the appearances, and now we clarify the nature of the inner perceiving mind. And then what does he say? He tells us that we should be still, focused, so that this inner aspect can flourish. The crucial point of the body is to apply the 7-point posture. We may think, wow, this is very high, this is incredible. But actually, guys, we're hallucinated. We're just running around in circles. And then we have to stop somehow. We have to be still for a while. So we cross our legs, we do the 7-point posture. Since we're naturally curious and we're always creating identities, now in the 7-point posture, it's sad, but that's how it is. I am now in the hospital bed. A little bit like this. I'm now with my legs and arms plastered. That's it. There's no lucidity in this. We're producing a process of fixation, which is an extreme situation. And then the Buddhas come and say this: you were such a high being. The crucial point of the body is to apply the 7-point posture. The crucial point of the speech is to shut up. No, but they don't say it like this. They say, is to allow your breath to settle naturally. This is nice, isn't it? They're giving us some help. They don't say shut up. They say allow your breath to settle naturally. And anybody who allows the breath to settle naturally, they cannot speak, of course. The crucial point of the mind is neither to be too tight nor too loose, but to rest directly without trying to do anything in the mind, in an experience of fresh, uncontrived awareness. This is a beautiful way of saying, stop all these crazy things, just stop for a while. If Buddha were gaúcho, he would say, stop it. But no, he's very delicate. The crucial point of the mind is neither to be too tight nor too loose, but to rest directly without trying to do anything in the mind, in an experience of fresh, uncontrived awareness. That's what we do. That's okay. That's it. So when we settle in this way, it actually happens. We're trying to go back to the natural condition. Turning your attention within, look directly into the very face of mind itself. This is something. So we may contemplate various things, and then eventually this eyes, this view that is looking everywhere, it may turn around and ask, hey, who is there? And then we feel naked. They will discover everything about myself. It's going to be horrible. I cannot escape. So we turn this view around, and then we look eye to the eye. What is there inside? So turning your attention within, look directly into the very face of mind itself. When you look like this, you experience a state that is beyond any duality. This is the point. Ajahn Rinpoche is not concerned about whatever kind of trash we have. He really doesn't care about it. That's not the point. The point is, when we look, the mind that we see is not separate from the mind that is seen. This is the point. So when we recognize that it's impossible for the mind that is seen to be separate from the mind that is seen, that they are the same, they are the mind. then we understand that when the mind sees the mind, it's being self-aware. It can only see by means of self-awareness. It cannot seize an object that is separate. This is the crucial point. This is defined as Rigpa, the ability of inner lucidity of seeing the mind through itself. It's self-aware. This aspect of Rigpa is the central point, and then we discover that Rigpa is incessantly present. It's not possible to manifest the mind without knowing what we're manifesting. And if we know what we're manifesting, it's because the mind is aware of what it's doing. And this is how appearances arise. The mind produces appearances and it sees them itself. So there is absolutely no separation between the one who looks and something that is looked at, between an experiencer and experienced, between subject and object. There is no subject and object. Instead, you experience a self-cognizing, objectless state of openness beyond any conceptual elaboration. Why? Because this mind, it can create objects, but we're not looking at the object, we're looking at the very mind. And when we look at the mind, we can only find a state of openness. If we find content, then we see that, oh, this is just content, this is not the mind. And then we go back to trying and see what is the mind. And then I won't find any object or anything. What do we find? We find a self-cognizing, objectless state of openness beyond any conceptual elaboration. What is there as mind? This self-cognizing state of openness beyond any conceptual elaboration. Simply settle directly and evenly into that very experience without spoiling it by trying to change or modify it in any way. Then we see this. The John Rinpoche is giving the transmission, the empowerment of the primordial mind. And then we recognize that the primordial mind sees itself. We don't have to modify, we don't have to create, we don't have to sustain anything. There's no appearance. This condition of trying to see is in itself a luminous openness.
Essa abertura luminosa, ela não é
This
construída.
luminous openness is not constructed, it's always present. It's the Buddha nature. And then the John Rinpoche says, this is how those of the highest capacity meditate, settling into the immediacy of the universal awareness of the God. Even though it's presented in this way, the beings who need to meditate are beings who are lost. The beings who need instruction about the ultimate nature, they are lost. So it's better not to get too excited about this.
Aí nós temos a triagem no...
So
Esse
there
aqui,
is this emergency of the hospital, and then we think, oh, this one has more capacity to survive. It's not that, oh, he's such a big one. It's no, he has more capacities to survive than the others. The others are worse than him.
aqueles de maior capacidade.
So this is how
Estabelecendo-se diretamente na lucidez universal.
those of the highest capacity meditate, settling into the immediacy of the universal awareness Rigpa. Actually, they are in the emergency of the hospital, hardly breathing, and if they have some chance of surviving, and then we work with them, so they're not.
Às vezes as pessoas ficam com orgulho.
Sometimes people feel pride. I remember some people telling to the Dalai Lama, I have a problem, I have pride. And then Dalai Lama has to laugh. He says, pride of what? What are you proud of?
Mais ou menos assim que
It's a little bit like this. The answer is like this. And he's more incisive. He says, you received teachings. They are like a medicine to save you from a horrible disease. And now you are proud because you're taking a medicine. You are proud because you adapted to the medicine you're taking. It's still, for most people whose minds are disturbed by the churning waves of thought. Who are these people? This is difficult to recognize, and so they should search for the mind using the path of Rigpa and Rigpa alone. This means that as soon as a flash or flicker of thought appears, you look directly into it and ask, where does it come from? So we turn the mind around to ourselves and we try to search, where does it come from? Where does it remain right now? Where does it cease in the end? You can also ask, who is the one to attain Buddhahood? Who is the one that wanders in samsara? Who creates happiness and suffering? If you think it's the mind, the better thing is to say, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I can't find anything. So yeah, I'm giving you the spoiler. We're gonna have a test, so yeah, just say, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. This is the right answer. Write it down.
Isso é a mente.
But if you say that, oh, this is the mind, then you're going to be reproved.
Eu obrigado a fazer essa pergunta. E
So
ela
then
tem
you have to ask yourself, well, does this mind have a beginning? Since we're talking about a mind, does it have a beginning or an end or a middle? Is mind real or unreal? If it's real, what is its color or its shape?
a mente para nós é uma idealização.
And mind for us is an idealization.
Se pensar que é irreal,
If you think it's unreal, then ask yourself, is it completely nothing or what is it like? Ask questions such as this again and again without letting your attention sleep and look into the mind. Go search for it. And then we're going to find the object that mind produces, but we won't find the mind. If you can't arrive at a clear decision, but think of mind as something concrete and real with certain characteristics, or if you consider that it's an empty void of nothing at all, or if you think that it has never existed because you can't find it, or if you think it clearly exists, so how could anyone ever fail to find it? Then continue to search and ask yourself more questions. That means you're not seeing it clearly, so you should do more questions. You won't find one who looks or something that is looked at, neither a seer nor one who is seen.
quando a gente vai entrar na prova, é bom que você saiba.
So you should know this when you do the test. So where is the mind? The right answer is you will not find something that is looked at, neither a seer nor one who is seen. When you look inwardly, we may think, no, it's there, but we can't find any substantiality in the mind. Not finding anything at all by searching and analyzing, it's like looking into the sphere of space and not seeing anything at all. So we have space here in the room, in the temple, and we look at space and there's nothing. This is in the same when we look inwardly and we try to find the mind and we don't see anything. But we are not realizing that the mind is searching for the mind, and the mind that is searching, this mind is alive, cognizant, alert, without any content, looking into the space. So there is this lucidity. So not finding anything at all by searching and analyzing, it's like looking into the sphere of space and not seeing anything at all. It's an experience of awareness without any essence that could be identified. It's inexpressible beyond thought and not something to be seen. It's there and exercising this mind. This mind is an openness that is free and has no content. It's the union of emptiness and clarity, unchanging naked awareness beyond any object. When we recognize this naked luminosity beyond any tendency, which is empty, when this arises as a stable experience, then destruction has truly penetrated your being. So we locate this. So now there is the third item, recognizing the view of the natural state. Empty clarity, the ultimate Virgil. So this openness dissolves all appearances that arise from conditionings. From this openness, I see how ordinary experiences manifest in various ways. And the essence of this is not to rest on any artificial basis. So this basis that is non-contrived, not artificial, this is the ultimate Dorjadrolo, the wrathful deity that dissolves all appearance, all illusory appearances. So Dorjadrolo is not to be sought anywhere but here, in this naked, self-arising awareness. Great Lord, pervading all samsara and nirvana, certainty is reached in this great primordial nature. In this way, you can recognize that the natural condition or state of the mind is and always has been. Why is it the natural condition? Because it has no artificiality, it's natural. So this natural condition is there. It's the lucid state that allows me to look at the constructions and see how they arise. So this is the natural state of the mind. And it's empty, free from any conceptual ideas of perceived object or perceiving subject, and primordially pure beyond words, thought, and expression. As the natural expression of the wisdom of unceasing clarity and radiance, it is spontaneously present as the great Lord, who pervades all samsara and nirvana. This great Lord is the natural expression of the wisdom of radiance and emptiness. I see the great Lord of samsara and nirvana because he sees perfectly all the sufferings of samsara and nirvana as luminous manifestations created by the mind. And these two qualities, primordial purity, kadag, this vast openness, and spontaneous presence, the fact that is a great openness has no origin or end, it's just this great opening, like the great ocean. So this purity, kadag, the great openness, and they have always been inseparably united in the natural unconditioned state. So the great openness incessantly present, this is the great natural state, unconditioned. This naked, naturally arising wisdom, which has always been enlightened as the naturally abiding realization of Dharmata, is the view of the great perfection beyond the ordinary mind. And you must realize it. So there is this great openness.
ela é luminosa,
It's luminous.
ela não tem conteúdo,
It has no content, so it's completely pure, and we call it kadad.
algo que gere ela.
And there isn't anything that generates it, so it's incessantly present. It has no origin. It's not created.
A consciência incessante.
This is the incessant consciousness, never ending.
Então, como que a gente vê que ela é incessantemente
So, how do we see that it's incessantly present, luminous, and that it pervades all appearances? How do we see it? We see it by it using itself.
essa consciência
So it's self-aware. This awareness, this self-awareness is our mind. Our mind merges with this open awareness and sees it.
é bom, eu que
When we recognize it, we cannot say, me, I was born in here or there, I am this or that.
a partir de condicionamentos
We're not seeing things based on conditionings or identities or beings or bubbles of reality. We are seeing things based on the self-awareness of the mind.
nós vemos que essa mente autoconsciente ela pode se fazer
And then we say that this self-awareness, self-aware mind can become narrowed, but then it recover this vast aspect. And we can say that it's vast because this consciousness, this awareness itself is saying that it's vast. And this capacity of self-awareness, this is great power.
então nós temos o aspecto vasto,
So there is this vast aspect, Tathagata. There is the luminous aspect, Sao.
o aspecto consciente, lúcido,
There is this aspect that is aware and lucid, which is Rigpa.
então esse aspecto conjunto, ou seja, essa sabedoria nua,
So this naked wisdom, this lucid wisdom,
surgiu naturalmente, que sempre
naturally arising, which has always been enlightened as the naturally abiding realization of Dharmata,
é a visão da grande
is the view of the great perfection beyond the ordinary mind. And you must realize it by recognizing it just as it is.
essa abertura,
So there is Dharmata, which is this great, luminous and lucid openness.
assim quando a nossa prática
So
será
our practice will always be the recognition of Dharmata in any experience. What is Dharmata? Dharmata is the recognition of the appearance as a luminous position that is inseparable from this vast and empty aspect, and that is manifested by the lucidity that sees this construction. This is Dharmata.
natural grande perfeição.
This is the view of the great natural perfection beyond ordinary mind.
Tal como é.
And you must realize it by recognizing it just as it is. So this is item 1 of the 4 views. This is the first view. We have been introduced to it, but we're not really understanding it. So the first view is not, it's not perfect. It's not natural in our heart. It's something that is said to confused beings. Then what do we have to do?
Precisamos tomar essa
We have to take this view as the basis of our meditation.
então nós vamos trazê-la ao coração
And then we take it to heart through meditation.
através da meditação.
We make it natural through meditation.
O passado cessou.
So the past has ceased, the future not yet arisen. This present awareness, naked, empty Rigpa, take it as the path.
A gente precisava voltar assim,
And we should
essa lucidez.
go back and wonder, what is this Rigpa wisdom? How is it?
Grande abertura, Kadag.
Great openness, Kadag.
Kadag está viva. Oh.
Kadag Kadag, it's alive. Oh, it's the incessant aspect of Lundrup.
E Lundrup são vistos. O que vê?
Kadag and Lundrup are seen. And what is it that sees Kadag and Lundrup? This is Rigpa. So when there is this great openness, Kadag, how do we know that there is a great openness? Because there is an eye that is irradiating everything. And what is this eye? This is self-awareness. So the empty mind is self-aware. It sees that it's empty. And it also sees that it's luminous. And it also sees that it's incessantly present. So Rigpa is that which sees the vast mind that is free from conditionings. It sees the luminous and ever-present mind, and it also sees that this mind is incessantly present beyond time. Rigpa doesn't see time. But how does it see so much? What is it that is seeing so much? It's the very awareness. And this is Rigpa, self-awareness. And then we take Rigpa as the path. So everywhere we contemplate and we try to recognize the inner aspect and the qualities of openness, luminosity, absence of defilement, and wisdom, lucidity. So, having directly recognized the Dharmakaya, which is nothing other than this great, empty, and cognizant, naturally arising Rigpa, so we are just adding names, adding up names. So, this great, empty, and cognizant, naturally arising Rigpa. So we have great, empty, cognizant, naturally arising. Here I'm also including Kadag. It's a lucidity that reaches everything and has no content. This is at the same time Kadag, which is this vastness with no content, luminosity, which is what manifests everything. It's Lundrup, which is the fact that this great openness, that it's never turned on or turned off, it's always on. And it's also the self-awareness regarding all of this, which is Rigpa. So all of these things together, we call it Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is the Buddha's body. The Buddha is Dharmakaya. When I talk about Dharmakaya, I'm talking about the Buddha. The Buddha is not somebody. It's the Dharmakaya mind. So what is the Buddha? It's this lucidity. And what are the sentient beings? Characters that are manifest playing the game.
Perpetua.
And why cannot this character exist forever? Because it doesn't really exist. It's a luminous creation of this vast mind. So we do a little bit of something and then we do something else, or we do many things at the same time. Because we do some things and then we can create other things and other things, because our nature is infinite and this is what we are. And that's why we're not reliable as created characters, artificial characters. That's why even though we may have a huge failure somewhere, this failure has to do with the character. It never affects the ultimate basis, because this ultimate basis is always free. And it manifests again with other characters in other places. What is the principle of healing in Buddhism? This is healing in Buddhism. There is nothing that can destroy the ultimate nature. I can lose everything, but nothing will happen to this ultimate nature. It's never reached by anything. This power is present. We can recognize what we are creating. We are actually free.
Não é possível afundar esse barco.
It's not possible to submerge this boat. This boat never gets submerged. I don't know if it makes you happy or sad, but that's how it is. It's not possible to make the boat submerge, and this is called Vajra pride. When we understand it, we understand what is our region of strength. That's why, even though some people may have many failures, they don't really have any failures, because in this region, in Buddhism, to try and find the error or the mistake is not the point. We just discard the character. We can always construct ourselves in a higher way. And this capacity of constructing things in a higher way is the exercise of Dharmakaya.
Então, tendo reconhecido diretamente o Dharmakaya,
So having directly recognized the Dharmakaya, which is nothing other than this great, empty, and cognizant, naturally arising Rika, beyond the ordinary mind, then you must decide with complete certainty that there is not the slightest atom's worth of meditation to be done. So they're saying we should meditate. This is called the meditation of non-meditation. I always think it's better to learn directly non-meditation. Let's not waste our time. So you must decide that there's not the slightest atom's worth of meditation to be done. Why? This meditation that we should not do is a particular state. Like when I sit down, then I think that I'm something. This is meditation. Now I'm lucid. Now I'm this. Now I'm that. These are particular states. Now I'm humble.
particulares.
Particular states. Now I'm completely aware. I'm always choosing something that is something and not something else. So non-meditation, which is the best meditation, it's not a state. It's the natural condition of the mind. It's a Karyaka kind of meditation. It's natural.
Não. Eu sempre achei que era só soltar.
I always thought that we just have to let go.
Mas é esse aspecto não condicionado.
This is the unconditioned aspect.
A gente medita condicionadamente para depois.
So yeah, first we meditate in a conditioned way, and then we get rid of the conditioned meditation. We began by meditating in a conditioned way with shamatha because we were hallucinating. We need first to stop a little bit, be still, so that we can hear, listen, and then look inwardly and recognize that there is an inner lucidity. And then we take this lucidity as a basis, and we can see this great openness. And then we see how this mind of great openness creates many games, many artificialities, and how the worlds arise in this. And how all these worlds and circumstances and characters, they never affect the primordial aspect. This primordial aspect is always free from all of these complications that are actually created. They are not complications, they are ornaments of the primordial wisdom. I like this phrase, ornaments, because yeah, that's what they are. If we just remain still in this open space, we don't even realize that it's an open space. It's open because it allows for many creations. So the Buddha's mind is not an immobile mind. It's inseparable from the consort. It's the consort itself. So all appearances, all the multiple appearances, all the multiple intelligences in all directions, this is the Buddha's mind. This is Dharmakaya. And this is our practice. So we look at every direction and we recognize Dharmakaya. These are not beings, they are the lucid nature creating things. And this world arises in constant expansion. So you must decide with complete certainty that there is not the slightest atom's worth of meditation to be done besides settling naturally into the fresh and ordinary awareness that is the fourth part beyond the three. We call it this because it's unstained by any thoughts associated with the three times. Since the past thought has ceased, the future thought has not yet arisen, and there is no fabrication or contrivance in the present moment of awareness. So usually we have the three times, past, future, and present, but this is the fourth time. It's a time that has no sequence. So there's not the slightest atom's worth of meditation to be done besides settling naturally into the fresh and ordinary awareness, which merges with the fourth time, which is simple presence. Then you must have confidence in the liberation of whatever arises in the mind, realizing that it's the flow of Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya is naked, empty awareness beyond the ordinary mind. And with this confidence, relax and settle in the open and expansive awareness that is space-like and beyond any limits or extremes. At that moment, whatever you perceive through the six senses should simply be left without clinging in the naked, naturally clear, and vivid experience. So, leave without clinging is to recognize that this vast and vivid nature creates luminously all appearances and games and identities, and they operate with this capacity, this vast and lucid and vivid capacity. It remains intact at all times. It can create any movement in any direction at any time. No matter what thoughts arise internally within the mind, don't try to proliferate or dissolve them, but simply leave them as they are in their naked condition, so that they dissolve by themselves. So we keep the view based on this place, and this is the mandala of Samattabhadra. If we are in this mandala, everything manifests in a lucid way. This is the practice of meditation. Remain naturally without being constrained or restricted by antidotes or influenced by objects, whether good or bad, or spoiled by clinging, and without succumbing to the wish to abandon or remedy. Thoughts and artificialities dissolve into themselves when we maintain ourselves in this basis. It becomes clear that the chess game is a construction, but when I'm operating based on the game and its rules and etc., I cannot see that it's artificial. I can only see the impulses and etc. So the same mind that is vast is also the mind that creates the partial mind. But when we rest on this vast basis, we recognize the partial minds as such. And this is what we call the view. To sustain the experience of all penetrating openness, this kind of teaching that points out the ultimate aspects are called the teachings of the great perfection. So, to sustain the experience of all penetrating openness, having recognized this quality of vivid, to sustain the experience of all penetrating openness, having what is an all penetrating openness? If we're based on this all penetrating openness, when we look at things, they reveal themselves as they are. It's as if we were in the makeup room before the theater or the play begins. We're dressing, we're putting on makeup, and then we see it. But if we are in the audience, we only see the play, the show. But here, we are penetrating this place and we're recognizing it. So when the play begins, we see the clothes, we see the makeup, and we see all the artificial aspects of the situation. We see it and we don't have to criticize it. We recognize all of this as a luminous manifestation. We look at it with appreciation. This is Antao, the all-penetrating openness.
Se fosse o olho do diretor de cena.
It's like the eye of the director watching the play. It's not blocked by the story of the play. It's watching the scene, how it was set out. And this is the eye of Zantao, the all-penetrating openness. So having recognized this quality of vivid, pristine awareness,
Rigba. Então, quando nós manifestamos,
so when we manifest this great openness and Tao, we recognize that there is Kadat, great openness, Sao, which is luminosity. There is the Lundrup aspect, which is the fact that it's incessant. And there is Rikpa, which is lucidity or pristine awareness. So this, all of this together is called Zantao, the all-penetrating openness. Zantao is the Buddha Dorje Drolo, that the one who sees everything.
é Dharmata.
The basis of Zantao is Dharmata.
Aí vem o terceiro aspecto, que seria
And then there is the third aspect, which is the third view. So the second view, it looks like complete, but it's only the second of the four. And what else do we need? We have to be able to take this and look at every direction, recognizing with this perception, with this view. It doesn't suffice just to meditate and recognize one thing or another. This is crucial, but now I take this as a basis so that I can recognize this in every direction and appearances. The root text says, when stability is gained through familiarity like this, so we gain stability through meditation and consolidating the view.
Eu estou meditando.
So I'm meditating, and I recognized all of this. And now I'm in the post-meditative state. I stand up and I start moving in the world. So in meditative equipoise, unspoiled by clinging and attachment to primordial wisdom of naked awareness and emptiness, relax in the boundless openness of natural clarity. So I have already practiced meditative equipoise, and now I relax.
Preciso mais agora
I
ficar fixo.
no longer need to fixate on anything, recognizing Zantao, Kadag, Lungdrup, Tsao, Long, Dharmata. I don't have to do it. Now we just relax, where in this boundless openness. So there are no words, no concepts, nothing on which to fixate. And with this openness, we look at things. And when we look at them, the natural wisdom manifests. So relax in the boundless openness of natural clarity. This relaxation in the boundless openness of natural clarity is the meditation after meditation. In post-meditation, determine that whatever you perceive is like the magical tricks of a conjurer or appearances in a dream. You can think, wow, I'm inside a temple. Somebody imagined it, and then this was created, and now I'm here looking at this and thinking that this is a temple. Or conjurer of, or tricks of a conjurer or appearances in a dream. And yet, those appearances in a dream have been created, and now I'm under their influence, under their power, experiencing it as clear and empty without grasping. So we begin to contemplate everything in all direction as clear and empty aspects that arise magically, like magical worlds, magical luminous worlds. By taking this as the path, meditation, post-meditation will merge. Why? Because meditation is lucidity, but now I'm not using anything that is artificial. I'm just practicing lucidity. So I'm practicing meditation because meditation and non-meditation come together. But I don't have to be in a certain position or remembering certain things. I just look at things and it arises in a natural way. So this is the third view. It arises naturally. It reaches all appearances. So by taking this as the path, meditation and post-meditation will merge inseparably, and all that arises will be liberated by itself directly. So that your thoughts become friendly supports of meditation. So usually thoughts are our distraction, but now anything that I recognize in my mind as dual or separate or confused, I take it to look at it deeper, and then obstacles become support for meditation. So the various worlds, the various confusions become support for meditation. It's as if now I had to penetrate all illusory worlds and clarify them. So it's in this sense that we have the tantric practice. We're not choosing the appearances. We're not rejecting or grasping. We're clarifying them. So morality becomes the clarification of whatever appearances arise. It has nothing to do with rejecting or adopting specific appearances. So whatever appearances is liberated by itself.
Será liberado diretamente por si
mesmo. Liberated by itself directly, by looking inwardly. We can compare this to a snake that was in a knot, and then now it opens its body and it's not a knot anymore. So the illusory process dissolves by itself. And then your thoughts, your confusion become friendly supports of meditation. The practice of clarifying.
É a terceira visão. Então, é
This
uma
is the
visão
third view. It's a powerful view that reaches all the multiple appearances.
Se você achar que os pensamentos prejudicam a sua prática,
If you find that thoughts harm your practice, if you think that certain thoughts harm your practice, then look directly into whatever thoughts or movement stir the mind, and like waves dissolving back into water, they will vanish without trace.
vocês imaginem assim, vocês estão sentados em meditação.
So you are sitting in meditation, and then Mara comes up, he never gives up, and then he manifests many appearances in front of us.
Vocês estão olhando. Então vamos supor que tem uma
So
aparência.
you are looking at it. Let's suppose that there is a human appearance,
Aí nós olhamos, uau,
and then we look at it, wow,
vai ver meu Buda Sakyamuni. Vai
and
ver
then
o
we
Buda
think, oh, come Buddha Sakyamuni, help me.
olhando para aquilo.
And then,
O que vai dar? Aí o Buda olha para aquilo.
then the Buddha looks at the appearance and he just laughs.
Eu preciso entrar num conjunto de condicionantes.
Why? Because I need to enter a group of conditionings to look at that. And the Buddha is sitting there and he doesn't enter anything. He just laughs and destroys me. So this is this vast state. Whatever appears in front of us is like this. And then we have a drama because we look at this being that appears in front of us.
Encerrei meu retiro, estou indo.
And then we go after this being. Like we leave our retreat behind and we running away, running after this wonderful being.
A felicidade apareceu, eu entendi.
And then we think, oh, now I've finally found happiness. And then we go.
Eu já nem sei mais como escapar disso agora.
I don't even remember how to escape from this. I'm confused now.
Nós estamos sentados nesse espaço
So
amplo.
we're sitting in this vast space.
Eu não quero espaço amplo nenhum.
But I don't want a vast space. I want to go after that person. And the Buddha says, no, no, no. Look carefully. And then we say to the Buddha, no, 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 I'll be back soon. I just have to do this. And this is how samsara works.
Aí o Mara tá lá, viu, abençoado? Eu tenho
Oh,
mais
and then Mara is there. You see, blessed one, I'm stronger than you. Then the Buddha says, yeah, but you are my creation.
Aí o Buda olha aquilo e ele vê
And then Buddha looks at that and he sees dependent arising. We take a constructed aspect that is a cessation and we take it as a basis, and then we create another one, and then we create another one, and so on and so on.
quando passa ser.
Then when a wonderful being passes and blinks to us, all of those creations surface, and then we go running after them.
Como que a gente gera antídoto disso? A gente tem
And
que
how do we create an antidote for this?
chamado
In February, we have to create a great festival called Carnival. All illusions are there.
Os cariocas todos sentados no aspecto livre da mente, assim.
So all Cariokas are sitting in this wonderful open aspect of mind, and everything is dancing around.
Dá pra ver isso. Então esse é o aspecto. Então, essa natureza livre
So
que
there is this nature that is free and sees how the entire game takes place. It doesn't reject the game, but the game is a luminous ornament of this nature. And then if you find that thoughts harm your practice, then look directly into whatever thoughts or movements steering the mind. And like waves dissolving back into water, they will vanish without trace. Or not. Yeah, they vanish without trace. Well, but maybe it won't work.
Para dar certo, tem que olhar desde a
But
natureza.
for this to work, you have to be within this limitless nature. The Buddha says you just have to rest in this nature and recognize all appearances. And then we can say, oh, blessed one, what if I don't want to do it now? Can I do it later? Mara is always saying, well, tell him that you'll do it later.
Se você achar que os pensamentos prejudicam a sua
If you
prática,
find that thoughts harm your practice, then look directly into whatever thoughts or movements steering the mind. And like waves dissolving back into water, they will vanish without trace. I don't know how people are able to translate all of these things that I'm saying. By gaining the clear, decisive certainty that thoughts are without basis or origin, what does it mean? It means that they have an origin and a basis that are luminously constructed, and we take this as real. So, for example, when there is an attractive image, we look at it, and what is the basis of that? There isn't a real basis. We're going to find it out like 2 years later, or 2 weeks later, or after Carnival. We eventually find it out, but we take something as a basis, and we believe in that.
uma foto dela dizendo eu amo
And
você.
then we send our pictures in the internet saying that we love you. And then we take it as a basis.
Agora tem um Mara na internet. É um
Now
perigo.
there's Mara in the internet. It's very dangerous. He upgraded his process.
É incrível, esse é o processo.
It's amazing. This is the process.
Mara mexe nas nossas veias.
And Mara affects our veins, the chemistry of our body. I don't need any reality for this. I take something as real and then it begins to operate just because I took it as real. And when something begins to operate in the body, the neurons see and start operating in according to that.
Neurônios, né? Os neurônios atuam dentro disso, com certeza.
They operate within this that we took to be real.
E aí, mas não consegue. Os neurônios não deixam. Então, é parecido com amarrar. Amarra as pernas e os braços, a pessoa não consegue. Assim, por isso que os neurônios são super importantes. Mas que a consciência estava ofendida. Aí o problema é a consciência. Aí a consciência, ela tem 2 pés.
So consciousness has 2 feet.
Cria uma terra, os pés.
And then we create an earth and we put our feet on the earth and they walk. And what is this earth? It's always a luminous aspect of the mind. And this is the teaching of the Surangama Sutra. When you discover that earth is ether, earth is this, it's ether.
Algo construído como
We
se
take
fosse
something that is constructed as being the earth. And what does earth mean? It's the place where I put my feet to walk. But the earth is always constructed. It's not really an earth. Actually, it's this great expanse, this great openness, kadagi. If we understand it, we can use the multiple earths with no problem because we know what they are. We know their fate. We don't have any expectations regarding them.
Então, olhe diretamente para quaisquer pensamentos ou movimentos surgidos.
So
Dissolve de volta na água, eles
they will
desaparecem.
vanish without trace.
Ao ganhar uma certeza
By gaining the clear decisive certainty that thoughts are without basis or origin, your practice will progress more easily.
várias
So
coisas
this
que
is the practice. I'm looking at the multiple things and they mistaken me, and I try to see it. So earth is not solid, it's an apparent earth. So for example, we're playing a chess game. What is the earth in the chess game? The table, the pieces, the position of the pieces, my desire to play, and then we have a kind of earth. And based on this, we're gonna play. And then, but maybe, for example, the adversary decides, well, I don't like it. I think I'm gonna lose. I'm giving up. And then we may think, no, how come you're gonna give up now? You're giving up just because you're losing.
vou levar o jogo inteiro, porque o
And
jogo é
then
meu.
the adversary says, I'm leaving and I'm taking the whole game because it's mine. So they migrate from one earth to another. And they say, no, I'm never going to play with you anymore. Works for 2 days. So there is no earth.
A pessoa diz, eu tenho certeza que eu já lhe encontrei na outra vida.
Then we may say, I'm sure I've met you in a past life. This is a re-encounter. This is the dream that we had in a past life.
É perigosíssimo.
And this earth is very dangerous.
A gente não se lembra bem o que aconteceu na outra vida. A pessoa não
We don't remember very well what happened in our past lives. We meet again, but then eventually, after a while, we remember, oh, I remember what happened in our past life.
Pessoal, terra é assim. Então, qual é a terra? A terra é a grande
So,
abertura.
what is the earth? The great openness.
Dos
And the
múltiplos
great openness allows us to move and penetrate the various worlds. How does Buddha penetrate the different worlds? He describes the world of form, the formless world, and the earth in the form world is happiness. So I sit down and I discover happiness. Goodbye, cruel world. No, I don't want happiness. Better than happiness is peace.
eu vou cansando de cada uma
And
delas.
then I get tired of all of them. And then I say, no, the best is the great openness. No, great openness. Openness of awareness.
Isso ainda é uma construção.
This is also construction. The best is nothing. And then we construct one after another, not always grasping into something. And that's how worlds are constructed, always having a basis that is an earth and it's created.
Ao ganhar uma certeza clara e
By
decisiva,
gaining the clear, decisive certainty, the thoughts are without basis or origin. They don't have a real solid basis.
progredirá mais facilmente.
Your practice will progress more easily. In short, in all your daily activity, do not slip into ordinary thinking and confusion, but train in the continuous river-like yoga without divisions,
Esse conteúdo da não distração
of non-distraction and non-grasping. Grasping is what produces an artificial basis as if it were real. And then in this way, you'll gain perfect familiarity with the ultimate wisdom, with the view amidst appearances. And then what comes next? The fourth view. It looks like there's nothing remaining, but there's still someone doing practice. There is confusion. I'm looking at confusion. I'm wondering, how am I going to dissolve it?
Vejo a base construída e tudo aquilo.
There's still someone recognizing the constructed basis. There's someone settling in the primordial basis, but I'm still recognizing that there is a problem. So I'm in the process of breaking through the problem. And now there is fruition when there are no longer two parts.
Todos os
Having
fenômenos.
entirely overcome all ordinary phenomena.
Quando eu olho para qualquer coisa,
So when I look at anything,
trabalho.
so we're always thinking about, well, how am I going to solve things and etc. So we don't do this anymore. We have already looked at all directions. We have penetrated all worlds, the three worlds and all the realms. This is what Buddha did. So we have penetrated, we have seen absolutely everything. So having entirely overcome all ordinary phenomena, the glorious Heruka is made manifest.
Ela está limpa.
So the lucid mind is free from getting into any mistake or error. It's naturally present. As this says, your own Rigpa, which is spontaneously perfect Buddhahood that has never known delusion, is obscured by temporary, deluded thoughts and clinging to things as real.
Ligando-se a coisas como se fossem reais. Ou seja, ela dá origem a bases.
So it creates bases, earth, as if it were solid and real. And this delusion is reinforced by the view of striving to gain something from elsewhere. So here we have dependent arising. Something is the basis for something else, and then something else. And then there's the notion of an effort that we make to obtain something else. But when through the kindness of the Lama's kindness, you are directly introduced to the Dharmakaya's own face and naturally sustain realization of primordial liberation. So when through the Lama's kindness, so Lama introduced it, it manifests as primordial Buddha, Garavidorji, Manjushri Mitra, Sitting Singha, Vinala Mitra, Guru Rinpoche, and then we have all the teachings. All of these teachings arise through the Lama's kindness, which is the ultimate nature, which is Rigpa. And Rigpa is inseparable from us. So we see it inwardly. So the Lama's kindness arises inwardly in us. And then you are directly introduced to the Dharmakaya's own face, which is yourself, and naturally sustain realization of primordial liberation. When we are empowered in this way, so all the transmissions and empowerments matured and we can see it, then without gaining something new, you actualize your own natural condition, the real earth, which has always been there just as it is. This is what we refer to as fruition.
Não há uma sensação que tem que fazer alguma coisa
So
mais.
we don't have this sensation that we have to do something else and fix something and change something. The natural state is the natural state. Once you come to master this state of the Heruka who pervades throughout both samsara and nirvana,
Você manifestará
you will
espontaneamente.
spontaneously perfect the infinite forms of enlightened activity beyond effort. So what are these infinite forms of enlightened activity? This means entering the conditioned worlds. So Buddha, for example, is able to do it, which is extraordinary. he's able to produce a teaching like this. So he reaches the minds of the beings as they are. He talks their language, their illusory languages, and the beings recognize in themselves this nature that they have. So this is enlightened activity. It means entering the conditioned worlds and presenting in the beings' languages, introduce that which they actually are, and so to make them overcome all suffering. This is fruition. In response to the requests of several devoted followers of this path, such as Nyoto, Tsel, and Paljor, I, Jigdral Yeshidorji, who is Drang Rinpoche, wrote this brief commentary in the manner of a direct pointing out instruction, marching, which is paid instruction.
De instrução piedosa, ou seja, ele dá a dica como é
Paid
que é.
instruction is they show us how to do it,
Seja fácil de entender e colocar em prática.
emphasizing what is easy to understand and put into practice. Great blessing.
E aí nós concluímos
And then we have concluded
essa instrução
this instruction.
da iluminação do Buda, né?
So we are in the retreat of the Buddha's enlightenment. And here we have the heart advice of Guru Rinpoche regarding the clarification of the primordial manifestation which is the Buddha himself.
Eu vou deixar um espaço para alguma
So
pergunta.
if you have any questions,
Pode falar, por favor.
yes, please. Good morning, Lama.
Caminho, na descrição toda, ela assim,
This description, it's not that the path is difficult or easy. The path is actually difficult. But I mean, the instruction has been given, you know what to do. But the point is how to maintain it, how to maintain this state. What I understand is, okay, I will do it and then I come back. How can we actually achieve this maintenance, which is not a stability? I don't have this expectation, but without be like go and come back, go and come back.
Eu acho que esse ensinamento ele tem
I think this teaching
a resposta para isso, né?
has the answer for this question. Essentially, we need to understand the first aspect. And when we understand the first aspect, we need to practice this in relation to everything, because that which appears and drags us, it's because we didn't look at it carefully. We need to examine everything extensively until we achieve fruition.
Esse obstáculo não surge.
Fruition is a condition in which these obstacles no longer arise.
mesmo assim, eu não olhei tudo que tinha
Yeah.
para olhar.
Com certeza.
So that means that I didn't look at everything I had to look. Yes, of course, because there are some things that still drag us. That means we didn't look at those things. We didn't really examine them.
Dentro do caminho do Bodhisattva, que tem os 10
In the
bhumi,
Bodhisattva's path with the 10 bhumis, here we're talking about the 4 views. In the path of the 10 bhumis, we have a similar description. We begin with compassion, joy, equanimity, and then we have the 6 paramitas, the 4 immeasurables and the 6 paramitas. And I'm going to describe it later on.
no Sutra do Diamante.
This is present in the Diamond Sutra. We can only understand the Diamond Sutra if we understand this ultimate aspect as was presented here by the John Rinpoche. And then when we reach the sixth perfection, which is the perfection of wisdom, this is the sixth Bhumi. The 10 Bodhisattvas Bhumi. This is the sixth. So the sixth Bhumi is a Bhumi in which I can access the wisdom. It's as if I have access to view, but I still get lost. And then there is the seventh Bhumi. It's like the third view.
Olhar qualquer.
So I can contemplate anything with this view, based on this view. So the second view is like the sixth wisdom. So we're introduced to it and we have to practice, but we don't have any stability yet. But in the seventh Bhumi, I still get lost, but I can find myself. I can find my way. So I'm faced with the things, I encounter the appearances, but I can. So this, in the seventh Bhumi, we can transform any illusion into clarity. And then in the eighth Bhumi, we never lose clarity anymore.
Segunda visão.
Or maybe we can consider that the seventh Bhumi is the second view. I get lost, but I find my way. And then in the eighth Bhumi, I no longer get lost, but I'm still
E vejo o mundo com
in the world. I still see the world in an ordinary way. But this ordinary way merges with the absolute way. And then in ninth Bhumi,
Tathagata.
this is Tathagata. It's the Buddha Shakyamuni, for example.
Clareza
The one who walks over the world with complete clarity, naturally complete. And this is the fourth view. And then the 10th Bhumi, here there's no longer a Tathagata. There isn't the one who walks in the world. The mind merges with great space and it no longer needs the five senses to be present in the multiplicity of things. It's naturally free in this world. And this is called the Dharma Mega. This is the very lucidity that needs no body, no sense organs. It just manifests in the minds of beings. So we're now receiving this direct benefit of an inner wisdom. It looks like it's ours, but it's actually a manifestation of Dharma Mega. It's the Buddha that has no body, but it manifests as wisdom in every being and every place. This is the natural wisdom. This is Dharma Mega, the 10th Bhumi.
Sim, por favor.
Primeiro eu gostaria de agradecer, né, dizer para o senhor que
First, I'd like to thank you and tell you that all these reflections, they help me personally, but they also help me professionally.
pacientes,
Both helping my patients, but I'm also a teacher, and it helps me
escrito, então eu acho
in my work as a teacher. So I think it's very important.
falando e cada
But
vez
as you were speaking, I was thinking, every time we listen to this, it's like we have another layer. And I was thinking about the preliminaries of the preliminaries, the ethical conduct and moral. And
mecanismo de aprisionamento.
doesn't moral sometimes become a mechanism of imprisonment
E a partir dali
in
vai
the sense that you establish a position of truth?
porque eu fiquei pensando assim, o que me dificulta muitas vezes fazer esse processo,
My difficulty
o receio de eu me
sometimes is a fear to be careless. It's as if I had to be all the time very careful. And then I thought, okay, but what is it to be careless? Well, it's to mistake, to do a mistake. Well, this is control, the need of controlling all the time. This is anxiety.
que eu não posso
I
relaxar.
have all the time this feeling that I cannot relax because if I let go,
Errar pode
and then
ser
I thought, okay, but mistaking may mean like doing things morally wrong, but it also has to do with walking, moving forward.
de certa maneira resgata um pouco o aspecto transgressivo.
So in a way, it kind of has to do with the transgressive aspect.
Desse papel transgressivo. Enfim, foi monte de coisas que eu fiquei pensando e
Okay, so I thought many things,
dessa maneira eu penso assim que podem talvez me ajudar a superar isso,
and maybe they can help me
relaxar e entregar.
overcome this and be able to relax and let go and let things happen. The feeling that I have is that I have always to be a little bit alert,
Uma experiência de ansiedade.
and I think it becomes an experience of anxiety. I don't know, maybe you can make some comments about this.
Eu acho que as regras vão produzir ansiedade, é inevitável.
I think rules will always create anxiety,
Estamos dentro de um processo, eu poderia acusar
but we are immersed in a process. I could accuse civilization, but it's not fair because even if we were completely alone somewhere, we can still transgress
onde nós estamos vivendo, né? E nós vamos ser atingidos por acidentes.
and we will be affected by accidents and animals and various circumstances.
Dentro de uma
So we're always
questão de sustentar nossa
immersed in an aspiration to sustain our life and our body and our presence. And we're always being threatened because there are other intelligences looking at us and thinking. So we're always fighting to maintain something. And in the middle of this, there are things that we learn, which also arise as rules for us.
tentar repassar isso para os filhos, para as
And we try to teach it to our kids and people around us.
agora, esse seria o aprendizado
But this is a kind of learning in the perspective of the conditionings.
civilizatório social.
It's a civilizatory, a social learning. But here, that's not what we're dealing with. We're talking about a learning that leads to liberation, to freedom,
Colocar numa posição inexpugnável.
because it puts us in a position that can never be destroyed. Everything we construct can disappear, but this cannot disappear. So
Lugar inexpugnável.
we
Expressão
go to a place that cannot be taken down. It's a fortress that cannot be taken down. This is an expression that Tujung Rinpa uses. So it's fearlessness that arises, but it's not a victory within samsara. There is no victory in samsara. If I aspire for victory in samsara, then I'm always anxious and trying to learn other resources, but they are never enough.
não importa quantos recursos
So I'm always anxious in this, and it doesn't matter how many resources I gather.
Eu sinto que às vezes é uma certa necessidade de conservação, sabe?
I feel that sometimes it's a need for conservation,
Porque, na verdade, a fruição,
because actually
em algum nível, você
fruition deep down has to do with letting go these identities, this world.
No primeiro dia que tem a ver com essa
That's why I asked you a question in the first day about this
cuida da família,
this attachment,
mas só que em algum
because we take care of our families and patients and etc. But at some point we just give up
soltar isso tudo. E o limite
and let go.
está no samsara, né? A gente está
And I think the limit of this is difficult because we are in samsara.
também, que às vezes é difícil a gente estabelecer.
Não tem uma harmonia. Se tu cuidar um pouco mais, pode ser criticado. Se cuidar um
And there is no harmony or balance because you're always going to be criticized.
tu cuidar muito, teu filho vai para o psicólogo.
If you're extremely careful, your son will go to a psychologist. If you don't take care of him, he will go to a psychiatrist. So there's no solution.
E se tu ficar problematizado com isso, tu
And if you are affected by this,
também sem solução. Ou seja, nós
so there's no solution. So we can always be criticized. So criticism is not the problem. We will not be able to escape criticism.
agora, já que eu não escapo da crítica, eu posso
So now, since I cannot escape criticism, I can look for lucidity.
um ambiente mais
I can
se a regra
operate in a more lucid environment. I don't have to obey the rules of the game because I'll always be condemned.
6 pontos, não tem ninguém que tenha ganho tantos pontos, ele não está super criticado agora.
For example, Brazil is the first now in the World Cup and he's suffering a lot of criticism.
Eu acho que o Brasil fez bem em perder a partida para
I think Brazil did right by losing this game against Cameroon. They were very happy.
não tem medo do Brasil. Quando fez o gol, ganhou o jogo.
The player who
Maravilhoso.
did a goal, he said, I'm not afraid of Brazil.
Cara, maravilhoso. Eu não gosto do nome Camarão, assim, meio
I don't like this name, Cameroon, but
preconceituoso.
I don't want to be
Dentro do Sansara não tem solução.
in samsara. There is no solution.
Mas eu acho que os psicólogos e psiquiatras fazem uma boa coisa, né? Porque
But I think psychologists and psychiatrists do something good because they're supporting beings who are suffering.
a gente diz que o Freud chegou à conclusão que as pessoas elas não tinham cura para
Freud, for example, he got to the conclusion that people had no cure. But I think this is not the Freud's truth because Freud never gave up on people. So he always thought he could do something. And I think this is interesting. I think this is Freud's truth. And he says that there is no solution. It's that there is no solution in samsara. I think Freud was a Buddha.
Pô, eu não sei aqui como é que nós estamos. A Carol deve estar assim, ela deve ter desistido já de traduzir, porque traduzir tanta bobagem, né? Não é possível.
Só duas
Por favor.
coisas muito rápidas. Eu
Two
gostei
things very quick.
a referência a Freud, porque
I like that you talked about Freud now
ele não desistiu das pessoas.
because to say that he didn't give up on people, it, like when you say that samsara has no solution, I think it should be taken. Otherwise, we're going to get desperate. And I also wanted to ask, like when you talked about the greater openness,
Conseguimos enxergar as coisas tal como são.
like we can see things as they are. Wouldn't it be better to say
Enxerga que as coisas não são.
that lucidity, see that things are not?
Podemos cair num existencialismo.
Eu acho que isso é
Otherwise, we may fall into some kind of essentialism.
uma pessoa dizendo, ok, isso não existe, mas como é que aparece?
There will always be someone saying, okay, this doesn't exist, but how does it manifest? How does it operate? If we're able to see that something doesn't exist, but even though it doesn't exist, it appears, this is more satisfactory.
Reduzir tudo a um
But
essencialismo,
isn't there the danger of reducing everything to some kind of essentialism?
é como se não tivesse existência, ou seja, que
It's as
não
if
essencial e fixa
we
para
can say that it doesn't have an existence in the sense that it's not essential or fixed.
Eu acho interessante isso. Essa crítica ela é uma
I
crítica.
think this criticism is interesting.
Também imaginar que o aspecto derradeiro é um aspecto
We
existente.
can also think that the ultimate aspect is existent, but when we contemplate it based on the great openness, this great openness has no existence in the sense of the existences of samsara. So in this sense, it's non-existent. Even though it's Padag, the great openness, great emptiness, no substantiality. Still, we cannot say that
Usaria
the
aquilo é
expression that Buddha uses sometimes is non-existent. When I say that something is non-existent, I take away substantiality. But when I deny non-existence, I'm not affirming existence, but I'm denying the absence. And this is always in the field of words. And words don't solve anything. We have to get rid of them. Words and understanding. And here we're talking about experience.
luminosa.
This luminous nature. It's imprisoned. I mean, we should know if it's free or not. It's a different kind of action. And words no longer have the power to get us there. I think we're gonna go, we're gonna do the dedication and then Buddha can ask later. Unless it's like the detail for you to achieve enlightenment.
E aquilo vai demorar mais éon. Os méritos desse encontro se expandam a todos. Que o Mestre Universal da Paz e da Compaixão, Sua Santidade o Dalai Lama, juntamente com todos os mestres de todas as tradições que veiculam essa mensagem, tenham longa vida. Que todos estejam a salvo de gerar pensamentos negativos, o obstáculo mais destrutivo. Que esses pensamentos nunca surjam em nossa mente e que todos os seres também estejam livres de pensamentos negativos. Ring Lun Chosun Ring Lun Che Tasun Chapar Peldro Chosun Wadang Medrau do Sungelen Chon. De nossa mente e que todos os seres também estejam livres. Eu fico na dúvida se escutam a mim ou escutam esse ser que fica falando. Tchau, então, pessoal.
Tchau.